Welcome to the 7-8 podcast,
where falling down isn't failure
and getting back up is the secret to life. What's up, everybody? Michael Johnson here and Lexi Rafael, your hosts of the 7-8 podcast. And we're excited that you joined us today because today we are going to be talking about one of my favorite 7-8 stories. If you're watching the show on YouTube, I'm wearing my Nike shirt today because we're going to be talking about Phil Knight and Nike. Lexi, tell them what we're going to be doing today.
Yeah, so we're talking about Nike, like you said, and our hope is by the end of the episode, you won't just know how Nike was built, you'll walk away with a deeper understanding of how to keep going when everything says stop. You'll see behind the myth of success and into the real mess that built a movement, because a Phil Knight could rise from lies, lawsuits, rejection, burnout, betrayal, his son dying,
Death.
death, and still
Tragic.
build a global brand. Then whatever you're facing right now, you are not out. Stay to the end and you'll leave with not just inspiration, but permission to keep moving, even when the next step feels impossible. This isn't just the story of Nike. It's proof that the fall isn't final and your rise might be closer than you think.
It is.
So that's what we hope that you get out of this episode. Before we jump in, though, we want to go through some comments
from some of the past episodes from you guys.
Yeah, we want to jump into some of them, and we want to jump into the good and the bad.
Now, that's not an invitation to go just leave bad comments to see if you can get on the show. Like we don't need any more, but you don't need any more extra bad comments, right? Like, but you know, we're not hiding from anything, and guys, we're just calling it like it is and playing it real. So, what's one of the first comments you've got there from some of the past episodes?
Yeah, let's jump into one of the good. We'll start with that. I love this, and I have a clip that I'm going to show with this too.
Oh, cool.
About that's from Phil Knight, so it's perfect. It ties into today. So a comment that we got was, "It doesn't always have to be a rags to riches story." ... Funny, because I think a lot of us believe those people that went from rags to riches are then entitled to that success. So it feels out of reach for other people if they haven't had a tragic or rags to riches story. I definitely used to believe that. Thank you for your perspective on that. The mundane stories are just as good and successful.
I think that's hugely important, right? Like the thing is that marketing is marketing. And
yeah,
if you've been in the game at all or any amount of time, you've had to learn to tell your story in a way that's interesting, in a way that captivates audiences, in a way that gets people excited to listen to you. And so I think we all have this predisposed feeling that we have to have this like tragedy or this like epic story because of that. And I don't think it's always like that. I think it just naturally is like that. And I think really learning how to tell your story so that people can hear that, people can hear the falls, people can hear how you got back up. That's actually super useful. So I appreciate that so much because, and like Lexi said, she's going to share a video a little bit later on, a little bit of commentary from Phil himself, the man.
I'm actually going to share it right now, real quick.
Oh, you are? Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to share this one right now because I think it goes so well with this comment, and we can keep talking about it just a little bit and then we'll jump in. So let me share this. All right.
A couple $100 million relating to athletics, but you've also given $500 million recently for a science center. So why did you decide to be so generous to your alma mater?
Well, and basically, you know, I kind of have to laugh because two of the great entrepreneurs, Bill Gates and Steve Jobs, basically dropped out of college when they were freshmen. And my story is exact opposite. The company Nike is really a result of two universities, the University of Oregon, which started the idea of running shoes, and then Stanford, which you know, had the entrepreneurship education. So I've tried to give back to those two schools of men.
So I'll stop it right there. I think this is such a cool example of it not having to be the rags to riches story. Here's Phil Knight, who has this $1 billion Nike empire, and he went to school and he went to Oregon and he went to Stanford. Like these are very big schools, and he that's where his success came from. So I think it's a great example of this idea of not having to have that same rags to riches story, and you can have that mundane of, yeah, I went and I got an education and I was able to build this empire still. I didn't have to have that same type of tragedy to begin with.
For sure. And I think that that makes all the difference in the world, because it kind of allows you to relax a little bit and just kind of like,
Totally.
you do you. I mean, that's like a common phrase that my kids use.
You do you.
You do you, right? And quit worrying about it, but know that he still had the falls along the way, and that's some of the
course.
stories that we're going to talk about today. But he also did go a more traditional path than those others that he mentioned, and he did go to school. He did get the education, and that's, especially nowadays, a lot of the kids are not going that direction, going that route anymore. But that shows that it can happen in multiple ways. What's the other comment you got?
All right, we'll talk about one of the bad comments.
I don't even know if it's that bad. It's just,
I don't know. It was a little, it was hard for me, and it was one of the first comments that we got back, and it was like, oh dang, like dang it. I'll pull it up on the screen. But they said, I'm sorry, it sounded like a long-winded sales pitch for something. I watched a couple minutes and got bored, and I instantly called Michael and was just like, does our content suck? Like, what are we doing? And he had a great perspective on this, and so I want you to share just a little bit about your perspective on this.
for sure. Yeah, like for me, I just want to address that head on. It is a long-winded sales pitch. So I just like own it. Like, we are trying to sell you on something. And here's what we're trying to sell you on.
Yeah.
Trying to sell you on the idea of 7-8. This is a long-winded sales pitch. And yes, you can hear that in my voice and you can hear it in the tone. I am trying to sell you on getting back up, but also making it a lifestyle. That's why our website is 78.life, because we want to promote this. We want to sell you on the idea and the belief that when you fall down, it's just another one of the falls. But the important part is to get back up. And I am going to do anything and everything in my power to sell you on this idea. We didn't make it up, but we are going to champion it.
Totally.
And this is huge. And along the way, you know, I hope that you buy into that. I hope that you buy into 7-8, and I hope you buy into the concept, because when you're down and you're out, when you're laying there in bed in the morning and it's dark still, and you're wondering, how am I going to get out of bed? How am I going to get out of the covers today? How am I going to just roll my butt out of bed? And you think to yourself, gosh, I'm not lazy. I'll do the work. I'm not lazy. I promise I'm not lazy. And you're like having this conversation in your head. I know it. I understand it. I get it. You do too. And when you're having that conversation, maybe, just maybe you'll have a little mug there by your bed that says 7-8 on it or something, to remind you to just get up. That's my hope. That's our hope. Yes, I'm trying to sell you on something. I'm sorry that you got bored. I hope that you listened to another one of our episodes.
They're probably not listening to this.
They're probably not listening to this, but those of you that are, I hope it's helping you at least. We've got a lot to share with you today, and Lexi's going to keep us on track for sure. But before we jump into that, I want a quick word from our sponsor, Business Choreography, and then we'll jump back in and get back into the content.
Today's episode is sponsored by the Business Choreography System. If you've ever felt like you've got all the right ideas, but the pieces just won't fit together, this is for you. We built the Business Choreography System for experts, educators, and entrepreneurs who are done duct taping their businesses together. It's the system that shows you how to organize, build, and grow with clarity and momentum. If you're ready for structure that feels like it was made for you, join the free masterclass at createmyimpact.com. That's where the next chapter begins. Now, let's get back to the episode. We're
Awesome.
back.
We're back. All right. So, what's first up on the list? Lead the way, Lexi Lou.
All right, let's do it. I'm excited for this. I always like to start with a bit of a disclaimer when we are talking about other people's stories. I have done a lot of research. There's a lot of information out there. And I hope that it is all accurate and correct. And if you find something that you're like, I don't think that was quite right, please comment, let us know. Because sometimes it's hard to sift through everything that's out there. There's the interviews, the books, the AI, Google, like there's so much information out there um, on Nike and on Phil Knight. And my hope is that I am sharing the most accurate information that I possibly can. That is my goal. So that's my little disclaimer.
Absolutely. And if you know Phil Knight personally and you want to share this episode with him and have him
Please.
come join us on the show, we're more than willing to have you. I'm talking to you, Phil.
Well, I think that'd be a little scary. He's like, actually, this was wrong and this was wrong. Oh,
Come and correct us, please.
Please do. Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt.
Okay, awesome. So that's the little disclaimer. So I wanted to start with why we chose to tell his story. Back in, I was trying to figure out when we had read this great book, Shoe Dog by
Gotta
Phil
read it.
Knight. If you're watching, or if you're not watching, I'm showing the book on the screen. It is a great book. Michael found it, and he's like, "You gotta read it." And he was very into it. There was a period of time there that you were just telling me all the stories, and I read it, and we became a huge fan of Phil Knight and his journey. I mean, we were already Nike fans, but we just became even bigger fans at that point. And he has such an incredible 7-8 story, and a story of resilience. And so we wanted to share that. And yeah, anything you want to add, Michael?
Read the book.
Read the book.
Read the book. I mean, like it's you don't have to take our word for it. And there's something really lovely about reading it. Grab a copy and hold it in your hands, and you can experience it as well. But we'll give you some things. Not everything we're talking about is from the book, but also you know, it's important that you can experience it. I mean, that's part of why we're here, right?
Right.
Let's dig in.
Okay, so I want to set the tone just a little bit. I have a clip of Phil Knight. We already got to hear from him just a bit in the beginning, but I have a clip of him talking about some cool stuff. So I'm going to play that, and then I have a whole bunch of quotes from the book that I want to read that I think they're epic, and I always love to hear different quotes from people, and so I'm going to share them with you, and hopefully you like them.
Awesome.
So let me play this clip. Let me give you a little bit of a backstory. At the beginning of this episode, they showed one of the Nike ads, and it was an ad with Charles Barkley and I think Michael Jordan, and they showed this ad at the beginning. And so now they are talking about this ad.
Back to the ads. Here's what's interesting to me. You had Michael Jordan talk about all the things that he didn't do. How many times he'd been entrusted with the ball for a last shot and missed. Not how many he'd scored, not how many he'd won, how many, what's the point there?
Well, the point is that you try again. And it was interesting in the ads you ran, and you asked if I was the inspiration, which I was not. But the inspiration on two of them, the Charles Barkley ad and the Michael Jordan ad, came from them.
Really?
That was their idea. Yeah. And that's one of the things that we've always tried to do is get to know the athlete, as we've said, when their hearts as well as their feet.
I love that. So good.
Win their hearts as well as their feet.
Right. And I just love the idea. Obviously, our whole podcast is about getting back up and trying again. And that is what that ad was about, and what these athletes were about, and what Phil Knight is about, is getting back up and trying again. So I think that's a great way to start this story, and this 7-8 story, is understanding that that's what he was about. So then let me go into some of these quotes from the book, because they are so good. And there are so many of them. But I have a list of some of my favorites. So one, the cowards never started and the weak died along the way. That leaves us, ladies and gentlemen, us. So that's a good one. Let everyone else call your idea crazy. Just keep going. Don't stop. Don't even think about stopping until you get there. Whatever comes, just don't stop. Life
There,
is growth. Sorry, go for it.
no, there's just so many times in the story and in his stories
Yeah,
that you can see that that was a true belief that he had.
right.
And that's incredible.
Yeah. Life is growth. You grow or you die.
I love that.
Have faith in yourself, but also have faith in faith. Faith as you define it. Beating the competition is relatively easy. Beating yourself is a never-ending commitment.
Isn't that the truth?
Isn't that the truth? And those who urge entrepreneurs to never give up, sometimes you have to give up. Sometimes you know when to give up. Oh, I'm sorry. I misread that. And those who urge entrepreneurs to never give up, he calls them charlatans. Then sometimes you have to give up. Sometimes knowing when to give up, when to try something else is genius. Giving up doesn't mean stopping. Don't ever stop. Luck plays a big role. Yes, I'd like to publicly acknowledge the power of luck. Athletes get lucky, poets get lucky, businesses get lucky. Hard work is critical. A good team is essential. Brains and determination are invaluable, but luck may decide the outcome.
I love that.
Right.
Especially with my definition of luck.
Michael's definition is labor under correct knowledge. I remember one day before I was running a track meet, and Michael texted me and he said, "Good luck." And he did the L and then period and all uppercase, and then U period and then C period and then K period. And I knew right away, labor under correct knowledge.
You got to practice. You got to work.
Right.
Luck is in this sense and in that acronym, it's time put in. It's your experience. It's you showing up and being able to take the opportunity because you can see the opportunity.
Right.
But without the labor and without the correct knowledge, sometimes you just aren't even capable of seeing the opportunity. So how could you take the bull by the horns in that moment if you can't even see the bull? Did you have another one?
Yeah, I've got a few more. I tell men and women in their mid-20s not to settle for a job or a profession or even a career. Seek a calling. Even if you don't know what that means, seek it. If you're following your calling, the fatigue will be easier to bear. The disappointments will be fuel. The highs will be like nothing you've ever felt.
I love
Next
that.
one. Yeah.
I want to pause on that because
Okay.
who knows? My kids may actually listen to this podcast.
Oh, man.
You never know. You all have kids too out there, I'm sure. For those of you that do, it's like, oh, dad, he's talking again. His dad's another podcast. But like, that's such a big deal. Like,
Yeah.
go after that thing. Go find your calling. You may not know it now. You may not know what it's going to ultimately be. I could not have predicted this at the beginning when I thought I had my true calling in life. I found a calling, but I can't say that I predicted this and where I'm at and what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. I could not have predicted that. And it was not pretty. And it was not, there was no movie and there was no epic show to it. And I wasn't running down, the Italy rooftops like Tom Cruise.
Oh, oh,
That's my
wow.
Tom Cruise. How about that?
That was some good running
Yeah.
arms.
Yeah. And, it wasn't like that. It wasn't nearly as epic. And I don't know how to ride a motorcycle. And really it's just do what you got to do. But if you're going after your calling, if you're going after what inspires you and moves your soul, if that's what you're after, then you'll be able to weather the ups and the downs. You'll be able to weather the 7 down and 8 up.
I have to find that quote. That was all you, but he talks about that as well. Oh, where did it go? If you're following your calling, the fatigue will be easier to bear. The disappointments will be fuel. The highs will be like nothing you've ever felt.
It's absolutely true.
Yeah.
It's absolutely true.
Okay, I got a few more. There were so many. I couldn't choose, so I just had to read them all. I couldn't decide. I was like, "Oh, well, that one's good too. Oh, shoot, that one's good too." Okay, next one. Confidence more than equity, more than liquidity. That's what a man needs. When you see only problems, you're not seeing clearly.
I want to pause there.
That's such a good one for me. Sometimes I struggle with that.
The interesting part is that, in our chosen profession, you and I, we
Yeah.
are expected to see the problems. Sometimes
Yeah.
when we're doing, not sometimes, all the time, when we're doing consulting and we're working with companies that come to us, whether they're a one-man show or whether they're a organization, it doesn't matter. What do they expect of us? They expect us to see their problems.
Yeah.
Except for it's like playing hide and seek with a 3-year-old who's cheating. Yes, I'm talking about some of you companies out there, some of you businesses out there. Please come and fix us. Please. We really want your expertise. We want you to find our problems. And then what do? You play hide and seek with the 3-year-old that's cheating. What does that mean? That means that they don't know that it's not okay to move in the middle of the game. They didn't understand the rule that they had to stay in the same place while you were trying to find them. And they didn't realize that, hey, you know what? That might be a problem. So here's the reason I say that, because we're good at finding problems. You know what else is the problem? Is that we're good at finding problems, which means we're also good at finding them in our own thing.
Yeah.
Man, that's difficult. It is so hard when you can find the problems with your own thing. And some of you, go ahead and raise your hand right now. Unless you're driving, if you're listening to this while you're driving, please don't raise your hands.
Yeah,
You can raise one. Keep
they
one
can
on,
raise one.
right? But raise your hand now, because I bet you anything, you can look at your business and go, well, there's this wrong and there's that wrong and there's this wrong.
Or just your life.
Or just your life, like all these things. I can see it exactly how it is. It's wrong, right? When you're good at finding problems, that's the first problem that you have to figure out how to come to grips with. You have to know when to use your superpower, and you have to know when to say, shut the front door. This is a kid-friendly show.
I love that. I think I need to hear that every single day. Every single
No
day
doubt.
on repeat. Okay, next one. I wanted to build something that was my own, something I could point to and say, I made that. Love that. Like it or not, life is a game. Whoever denies the truth gets left on the sidelines. Life is a game.
It is.
A lot more fun when you treat it like a game too.
And you can kick and scream and pretend it's not and say it's not, and I'm not going to play it that way. But then you're just kicking and screaming and not enjoying the game. That sucks. You
That's
know what
not
that looks like. You go out with a picnic. It's getting close to summertime where I live. And, you go out on a picnic and you got that one kid that's like bound and determined not to play with everybody else.
right.
Well, you can be miserable and not play with everybody else just so that you can be right. Or you can get in and play the game and have a ball.
It's much more fun when you do that.
Absolutely.
I'm going to read this one directly from the book because there's more in it than I had written down here, and it's really good.
Awesome.
At 24, I did have a crazy idea, and somehow, despite being dizzy with existential angst and fears about the future and doubts about myself, as all young men and women in their mid-20s are, I did decide that the world is made up of crazy ideas. History is one long processional of crazy ideas. The things I loved most, books, sports, democracy, free enterprise, started as crazy ideas.
No doubt.
So good.
Crazy
Again, this
ideas.
is from, sorry, go for it.
No, I was just reiterating, like, crazy ideas. How
Crazy
many
ideas.
of you out there have had crazy ideas? You could shake your head right now because you've had some crazy ideas. Way back in the day, I had this crazy idea and I kicked myself all the time for not following through with it. I decided, hey, it'd be really cool. What if we could like check out our groceries by ourselves? That would be so cool. And I was like telling my wife all about it. Like, what if we could do this and we could just like, they all have codes. All the products have codes on them. What if we could just scan the code and then just pay with our credit card? Wouldn't that be so freaking cool?
Well,
Like,
that's
that would be the
weird.
coolest thing. She's like, yeah, whatever. Nobody's going to buy into that. 5 years later, every grocery store on the planet
Has self-checkout.
has self-checkout. Holy cow.
Crazy ideas.
Somebody else had the crazy idea too, but they also had the means by which to put it together and roll it out. I did not, but I should have.
You should have.
I
You
mean,
missed out.
what was I thinking? I could have been the automated grocery store guy.
The automated grocery store guy. I'm sure that's what the person that created it
Calls
says.
himself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they call themselves that.
Yeah, for sure.
Next one. People sensing my belief wanted some of that belief for themselves. Belief is irresistible. I love this because we always talk about belief being such an important piece to anything that you're doing, whether you're starting a business or you are in sports or just life. Like, you have to believe in that idea and in yourself in order for anything to come to life.
No doubt.
The next one, the art of competing, was the art of forgetting. You must forget your limits.
That's hard to do.
That is so hard to do. It's hard to forget your limits, but when you can do that, you become unstoppable.
It's always where the zone is. Athletes
That
talk
sweet
about it.
spot.
Dancers talk about it.
Yeah.
Surfers talk about being in that one little pocket that's like, oh, that's so good. But in order to do that, you have to do, what did they say? What is that? You have
Is
to
that
you have to forget.
right?
You have to forget.
You have to forget your limits. That's what it is.
That's right. Forget your limits.
Yeah.
That's hard to do, man. That's hard
It
to do,
is so hard.
especially when you're down, especially when you've fallen down.
Oh, that's the hardest point. And I hope that you can find your way to this podcast and or have your 7/8 sweatshirt next to you and go, okay, I just have to get back up, just get back up, just get back up.
One more time.
One more time. One more time. Okay, next one. Sorry, I have so many. We're going to get into the other stuff. I guess this is going to be a longer episode. It's good. There's so much good content. Don't tell people how to do things. Tell them what to do and let them surprise you with their results. I like that one.
I do too. We've always had great success with our team when we do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And I think that's That's imperative.
Yeah, I think it's important with your family members too. You are remembered for the rules you break. For not telling you to break a ton of rules,
Yeah,
don't.
whoa, now hang on there, Nelly.
And this is not, I didn't say this.
Obey the law.
Phil Knight said this. This is not me.
Follow most of the rules.
Right. I wanted what everyone wants, to be me full time.
That's,
Isn't that the truth? Ain't that the truth?
man, I think that people maybe secretly want that more than anything else.
I just want to be them. Just
Full time.
full time. No pretending.
What
Yeah.
would your life, you listening to this right now, what would your life be like if you were you full time? What does that even mean?
Yeah.
To be you full time? You might not even know, because you might have been being something other than you full time. And I understand that. We wear a lot of hats. We wear a
Totally.
lot of hats. You're business owner, you're coach, you're developer, your mom, your dad, your whatever you are, you wear a lot of hats. Chief dinner maker, chief cook, right? I guess
Right.
dinner maker. It's not even cook, right? Like, I don't think that some of us with families even think of ourselves as cook. Like, I don't
Right.
have that high of an elevation. I didn't study, I didn't go to school, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just throwing some salt in to hopefully make it taste better. I am the chief dinner maker, I am not the chief cook.
All right, I got one more. But confidence was cash. You had to have some to get some.
Yep.
Okay, I mean, there are so many more, but we'll stop there. Let me go into
I love
this.
those. That's great.
So good, right? All of that just kind of that was a longer setting of the stage than I planned, but I think it was good to have that video of Phil Knight and to hear some of these quotes. And now let's go into a little bit more of his story. So I'm going to read this and then we'll dig into some more. Before Nike was a billion-dollar empire, it was a crazy idea. In 1962, a 24-year-old Phil Knight stepped off a plane in Japan with a dream and a lie. He walked into a boardroom at Onitsuka. So sorry for the people who are good at saying that. I can't say that. Tiger, and pitched himself at the head of a thriving shoe company called as the head of a thriving shoe company called Blue Ribbon Sports. The truth, it didn't exist. Not yet. All he had was belief and a proposal scrawled on hotel stationery. But they said yes. That one yes set off a chain of events that would span decades and nearly destroy him. Nike wasn't born in a garage, it was born in trunks of cars, borrowed bank loans, betrayal, lawsuits, rejection, reinvention, and grit. Phil Knight was rejected by banks, betrayed by his business partner, sued by the company he helped grow, and constantly teetering on the edge of financial ruin. He sold shoes at track meets on weekends while working as an accountant and teaching classes just to survive. There were no investors, no funding, no certainty, and no roadmap. The swoosh we all know, he didn't love it. The name Nike. At a last minute call for the first decade, there was more chaos than confidence, more fear than fame. And even when Nike became a global brand, the pressure didn't let up. From labor lawsuits to cultural backlash, from imposter syndrome to emotional exhaustion, Phil Knight's journey didn't get easier. It just got bigger. But what makes his story powerful, what makes it 7-8, is that it kept going, is that he kept going. Every fall, brought a harder rise. Every setback demanded reinvention. And through it all, he kept moving forward. This is not the story of a shoe company. It's the story of a man who refused to stay down. This is the 7-8 story of Nike.
I love that.
It's so powerful.
There's
So
there's so much in that. I mean, like
there is, and we're going to dive in a little bit more.
I just, yeah, keep going. Let's cover the first thing on your list here.
Okay. So the first piece of that story, that was kind of just the overview of the overview. It's hard to do a complete overview. Obviously, he wrote a book about it and has done lots and lots of interviews, but that's a good overview. But I want to dig into this first part of the story, which is the bluff that started it all and the crazy idea. So again, in 1962, Phil Knight stepped off a plane in Japan with nothing but a college paper, a vague business proposal, and a bold lie. He convinced executives at Tiger that he was the head of a thriving company called Blue Ribbon Sports. The truth, it was just a name he made up to get the meeting, which is absolutely crazy. He made up this name. This company didn't exist.
Well,
And
because he needed a name to be able to even get the meeting, I think, right?
I think it was to get the meeting, if I remember right from the
From
book,
the
it was
book.
to get the meeting and like he had to sign with something.
Oh, right. That's right.
Yeah.
So the company didn't exist yet, but Blue Ribbon. Hey, we could all be, instead of this Nike swoosh on my shirt, we could all be wearing blue ribbons.
Blue ribbons. Yeah. In something that I listened to, it was because of his track days and like winning first place, you get a blue ribbon. That's where that's the name. Yeah, I
Oh,
didn't know that. I hadn't the first time I heard it was today. Even after reading the book, I don't think he talked about it in that. That's where blue ribbon comes from.
wow.
Yeah, so he made it up to get the meeting. He scribbled the proposal on a hotel stationery and pitched them on distributing their shoes in the US, believing American runners were ready for something better than Adidas. To his shock, they said yes. Which is, I mean, I guess you got to ask, you got to try.
Yeah.
You have to try.
Can you imagine? Like, can you just even remotely imagine? I don't even know if that would happen these days. Like, people know too much about other people now, but like social
Yeah, there's like the
media,
internet, search it up.
yeah, search it up, right? Like, but like, I can't even imagine. Like, I'm sure he walked into a boardroom full of people and pitched this idea.
Yeah.
Like, he had to have been shaking in his boots. You know,
Sure.
what was he? What'd you say? He was 24. Holy cow, 24.
Yeah, I think at
24.
24. That's at
Jeez.
least when he had the idea. I don't know if that's when he went, but
Yeah, it's crazy.
he's 24 years old. And this all started because of an entrepreneur class that he had in college. We played that clip earlier of him,
Sure.
coming from college, and he had to do a project and come up with a company, and he really wanted to create he wanted to create a shoe that wasn't from Germany, I believe. He wanted it to be from Japan. Like, this is just a thing that he wanted. I'll have to find a little bit more on that.
Well, he also wanted to do running shoes specifically. He
wanted to do running shoes, yeah.
He loved running. He loved running.
Right.
And
Yeah.
he wasn't the best runner, but he loved running.
Yeah, he ran track in college, and he was a mid distance. I think his fastest mile was 4:13, so he never broke the 4-minute, but obviously he was.
That's pretty fast though. 4:13.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Yeah. So he ran it at Oregon. No, Oregon State, right? Oregon. I think it's Oregon. Yeah. It's always, you don't want to confuse those.
No. At one of the organs.
One of the organs. Anyway, so Then he flew home and he borrowed $50 from his father to get samples and made his first order. What makes this moment
With 50
powerful?
bucks.
Yeah, I know, $50. I'm like, "Oh, okay." Anyway,
I mean, that was
um,
huge, right? But
yeah, it was I mean, this was in 1962. So, what makes this moment powerful isn't the lie, it's the audacity. He had no resources, no team, no store, no customers, just belief, a little courage, and a ton of nerve. I can't imagine.
wow.
Okay, let's go to the next part of it.
Yeah, let's
Yeah, okay. So, selling from trunks and track meets. So when the shoes finally arrived, no one wanted them. Retailers ignored them, of course.
of course.
Retailers ignored him, distributors passed, but one person believed in him, his old track coach, Bill Bowerman. Bowerman not only co signed Knight's vision, he became his co founder, experimenting with running shoe designs and helping Knight get traction in the track world. Together, they sold the shoes out of the trunk of Knight's car at high school and college meets. Knight worked as an accountant by day, a teacher by night, and a shoe hustler on weekends. There was no glamour, just grit, long drives, rejected pitches, and an unshakable vision. Woo! He was I mean, that's 3 jobs, right? And
Wow.
I also, I love the piece about, he found his business partner to help them in this, and obviously, Michael and I are business partners, and I am so grateful for that partnership, and we've been able to go on this journey, and,
Crazy.
um, yeah, so I especially like that little piece. Um, and he believed in him, right? Bowerman believed in Knight's vision,
Right.
and it was just like a little bit to help him keep going, and who knows, like, would he have kept going if he didn't get that support? I don't know.
Right.
I
I
don't know.
I I'm gonna go out on a limb and say no.
Yeah, he
Because
might have stopped.
you need somebody else in your journey
Yeah,
to kind of be like, dude, you can do this.
yeah.
It doesn't come across in those words, but everybody had it. And you look at at the journey that we go through as humans and the stories that we tell about the journeys we go through. I mean, you can go to movies and you go, okay, they model it off of the stories of what we
Mhm.
go through, right? Frodo and had Sam, and there was somebody there that believed Frodo could do it. That was what
Yeah,
was important, right?
right.
And there's always that. There's always that. And I hope you have that. And if you don't and you're on an island, don't worry. There's somebody coming,
Yeah.
but they're not coming to save you. And so I want you to make
Nobody
sure
is coming to save you.
nobody is coming to save you. This is fall down 7, get up 8. You have to get up. You are
Yeah,
the one that has
you
to
are
get up.
responsible.
Yeah. And while you might need that other person that believes in you, you might need your Sam or you might need what was his name for Phil?
Oh, Bill.
Bill and
Bill
Phil.
Bowerman.
Bill Bowerman. You might need your Bill. That's okay.
Yeah.
But they're not there to save you. And if you read the book, it was clear that that was the case too. Bill wasn't
Bill
there to
was
save him.
No, I mean, he was a high school or he was a track coach.
He was a track coach, right?
Yeah.
So, like nobody's coming to save you, but you do have to have the courage and the will to get back up.
Yeah.
And it's not a half-assed get back up. It's not a I'm going to get back up and not do that anymore. It's a get back up and do it again.
Yeah.
That's hard. That's hard. And if in the interim of you finding your Sam, we can provide a little bit of the filling of that space.
I hope so.
I hope so. I hope so. I hope we can be your 8, if that's what you need. And if you have your Sam already, that's okay. Sometimes you still need help getting up. What else you got for us, Lex? You got a bunch of stuff on this list.
I know, man. Okay, let's go to just another piece of the story. So, for nearly a decade, Blue Ribbon Sports operated on a shoestring budget. Knight was always out of money, always one step ahead of the banks, and constantly begging for credit extensions. He'd take the profits from one shipment just to pay for the next. Experience that.
Who's done that before? Come on. Yikes.
This part is really big. Despite making over 1 million in sales by 1973, they were still fragile. Phil Knight kept his job as a professor at Portland State just to keep the lights on. In Shoe Dog, he admits that he often felt like everything could collapse at any moment, and that fear was his daily companion. Even I was listening to an interview, and the interviewer asked him about his
philanthropic.
There it is. That was not an easy word for me to say. His philanthropic things that he does, and he admits to it taking him longer than maybe it should have, because he was always in this place of like, is this real? And do I have enough money to give? Because he just felt like it was still going to fall apart and it was still going to go away.
That's crazy.
Even when he's giving hundreds of millions of dollars.
Right.
Which is crazy.
Well, I think that's the misnomer. If you are listening to this and you're not an entrepreneur already, if you haven't already started on your journey, I think a lot of people in that position look at it and go, oh, your company made $1 million. Yeah, but you could have profited $1.
Yeah.
If your company made $1 million, that is a possibility. And sometimes, and you've all had this experience, you've been driving down the road and you're going to your favorite restaurant for dinner, and you look and you're like, hey, hun, look, that place we used to go to is out of business. How? They were good. Like, we liked them. Every time we went there, it was busy. There were always people there. We liked it. How did it die? What the heck happened? I wonder what happened. Well, what happened was they might have been making money, but they might not have been profiting any money. And they didn't make it through the curve.
You just never know.
You just never know.
You never know what's happening. And, obviously through each of these different parts of his story, he clearly kept going. He clearly found a way and got back up. And that's the point. Like, that's why we want to tell you these stories, is because we want to give you more examples of ways that people have gotten back up and things that they've gotten back up from. So you have perspective in those moments to go, okay, I'm going through this. Oh yeah, I remember that story about Phil Knight, or I remember that story about Disney, or I remember that story about maybe one of the other listeners of 7-8 who was so willing to share their experience, and you go, okay, yeah, I can do it too.
Absolutely. I think it's important. And I want to pull back just a little bit to the old days. Like, we're talking like caveman days. If you think about it, language wasn't developed as well in the earlier days. So what did they do? They passed on stories.
That's right.
Through dance. And then they used stories through language as language evolved. And the stories were always about what to avoid and what to have hope for, and how you can persevere, and with courage and with attention and work and paying attention to the details, you could survive, you could live. And that's what we're doing. We want to continue to tell you these stories because we believe that these stories are um, signposts on your highway towards what matters most to you. And these signs have the stories of the shoulders of giants. And there's not enough signs. And so we're going to put up as many posts as we can, signposts, and we're going to make sure that you hear these stories, not because we should idolize them. Phil's just another guy. He's just another entrepreneur. He's not any more special than you. And sorry, Phil, if you do come across this episode and you ever hear it, I mean that in the nicest of ways. But there is somebody out there right now, might be you listening, and you've thought, why me? I'm not that special. Why me? Why should I think I can do this? Because I'm not a genius. I don't have a high IQ score. What did I do? Maybe I don't deserve this. And I need you to put all of that out of your mind. And I need you to realize that your dream and your vision, that thing that keeps spurring you on, that thing that you might be searching for, if maybe my kids are listening and they're looking for their thing still, is important. It's important because it's calling you, and it's important because somebody needs it. And it's your calling to figure out how to make it work. That means that you might have some more of your sevens falling down, but that 8 that's intertwined through that 7 that you see in the logo is reminding you that you're going to keep getting back up. And that's important. I'm sorry to interrupt, Lex. What was your next story?
That's great. I love that. Okay, next one. Oh, betrayed.
Betrayed. This was
After years of building their US distribution, Onitsuka, this is the tiger company that first
the manufacturer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tried to squeeze Knight out. They began quietly searching for other American distributors. Wow, my words. You can do it. Distributors have been reading too much. Planning to cut ties with Blue Ribbon entirely. When Knight found out, he was devastated, but not surprised. He sued them to defend what he had built. And at the same time, he decided to start over, this time under his own brand. That is when Nike came to life.
The name Nike he hated.
Which he hated. Yeah. I think it's interesting. It was a pivot born from that betrayal and a decision that nearly broke him. But ultimately, I mean, Nike, we don't know Blue Ribbon.
Right.
We know Nike.
Right.
That's what we know. And I think let's go right into this next story because you started talking about the name and him hating it. So the name Nike was suggested by a guy named Jeff Johnson in a 3 a.m. call. And Nike didn't love it. Same with the swoosh, which was designed by a college student for just $35, who now has
Stock in the company.
stock in the company. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he said, I don't love it, but maybe it will grow on me. The irony, these throwaway elements became cultural icons. The name, the swoosh, the very thing he was unsure about became Nike's identity. I think it's cool. Like, I'm sure there's plenty of things that you have dismissed on your journey and went, nope, that's not cool. That's not a thing, but maybe it is the very thing that could become the cultural icon is what this says.
It's true. Everybody knows the Nike swoosh.
Yeah,
Like there's just
everybody knows it,
everybody knows it. It's a global icon
right?
across all humanity.
Yeah,
Wow,
so
how
crazy.
cool is that? And he was like, "Yeah, no, I don't really like it." But it was still born out of the heart and soul of what he had gone through. And
Yeah,
kudos to him to allow his team to participate and
right,
to innovate with and for him, because that was a necessity in where he was headed and where
right,
he was going, right? Because you wouldn't have Nike the way you know it today had he not given the reins to his people that he trusted to create what needed to be created to become what Nike has become.
right.
And that's hard. And so for those of you that are a little further along your journey, and maybe you're having a hard time allowing your team to kind of step in and give you the guidance and direction based off of their belief in your company and their belief in your idea, their belief in where you're headed and what you're doing. Sometimes you got to give them the reins and go, okay, that's what the team likes. We're going to go with that, even if it's not what you necessarily thought. And
Yeah.
that is hard.
There's I wish I had it. I forgot about this clip that I had found where he talks about you have to make it mean something. You have
Right,
to make that logo, that company, that thing, you have to make it mean something. And that's that's what he did, right?
right,
He made Nike mean something. Just do it. How fast do we think of that, and are those things associated? He made this swoosh mean something far more than just a swoosh.
right.
And that's what we all have to strive to do with our logos and the things that we are creating.
Branding,
We have to make it mean something.
right.
Uh, so
That's on your shoulders, right? That's
yeah.
on your watch. You've got to do that. And you don't do that by I'll do you have a more stories here that we need to get through, or can I rant for just a bit?
Rant. Go for it.
The
Please rant.
the you can't do that with just using AI, guys. AI is amazing. We use it. You should be using it or you're getting behind. However, the truth of the matter is that AI is going to allow you to move faster. But if you move faster and only use the heart and soul of AI instead of the heart and soul of you, you're going to be in a world of hurt. That's because AI doesn't have a heart and soul. Not yet. We'll talk about that if it comes and when it comes, if it does. But until then, you are the heart and soul. People want real. And you mark my words today,
Oh, snap.
I can almost guarantee that human made will become an increasing commodity as humanity progresses. Because people will want the errors. People will want your handmade stuff that isn't perfect. People will want your writing that is yours. There will be a day when the written word on a piece of paper will be more valuable than a printout, because it will show that there was no way AI could have done it. And it will show your creativeness and your heart and soul and your experience and your insight that you've brought with you, that you've lived along the way. AI cannot live that for you. AI can organize it for you. And I hope you use it to do so and to move quicker and to be more agile. But it is important that you use that to help you get back up, to get the ball rolling. But it is also important that you put you and your heart and soul in that as you proceed. Without that heart and soul, the Nike swoosh wouldn't mean a thing. Without that heart and soul, that brand wouldn't have the weight that that brand does. You may like Nike, you may not like Nike. However, if you saw somebody at the local thrift store and they had a brand new Nike shirt and you were like, you know it's quality, you know it's still good. They've built enough brand that even if you don't like it, you'd probably still consider it like, that's $1. I'll take that for $1. Right? So you have to understand that you have to build with your heart and your soul. And you can use the tools at hand, right? That's, thank goodness I have a lawnmower, right? Like a lawnmower makes mowing the lawn easier than using scissors. And that's about the equivalent jump of where we were compared to where we are with AI. We don't have a pair of scissors anymore. We have a lawnmower. Now use it, but don't take you out of it. Your calling, your heart, your soul, your insight, your experience, and your expertise has to be in the mix. That's my rant.
Very good rant. Well, let's end with this. Years after retiring, Knight wrote Shoe Dog, not as a celebration, but as a confession. It's brutally honest, messy, raw. He didn't write it to protect the brand. He wrote it to share the truth. Every fall, every panic attack, every moment he wanted to quit. It became a gift to dreamers, proof that greatness doesn't come from certainty, but from motion. I love that.
That is a fact. We are former professional ballroom dancers, both of us in our own day. And the truth is that the motion was the most important thing.
Yeah.
You have to keep moving. And in order to keep moving, you have to get back up.
And that is what Bill Knight did over and over again. After each of these falls that we've talked about in these stories, he kept getting back up over and over and over again to keep this going.
So, as usual, we want to encourage you guys. Keep getting back up. You may have fallen down, and don't worry, you don't have to fall down 7. It could be just once, although I doubt that's what has happened. And if you keep getting back up and chasing what means most to you, then you're going to be living a pretty successful life, regardless of the scenario and regardless of what happens along the way. Just keep getting back up. That's what we're here for. Don't forget, 7-8 is actually more than just that cool logo that we got. It is a cool logo, if I do say so myself. But keep getting back up. And until next time, go share this with a friend. Subscribe on the channel if you're somewhere where you can subscribe. And if you'd like to leave a review or write any comments, we read them.
We do read them.
And we listen. So we want to hear from you. You can tell us your 7-8 story. And if you'd like to share that, we'd love to hear it. You can go to the website and there's a place for you to do so. Until next time, keep getting back up. We'll see you on the next episode of the 7-8 podcast. Take care. That's a wrap for this episode of 7-8, where rising isn't optional, it's who we are. If you're walking through the fire right now, or if you've already come out the other side, we want to hear your story. Head over to 78.life. That's SEVEN 8.life. And tell us what you've been through, how you got back up, and what you've learned along the way. Your voice could be the one someone else needs to hear right now. And while you're there, suit up. The 7-8 gear isn't just clothing, it's armor for the battle, a symbol of what you've been through and the fact that you're still here. Wear it, own it, rock it. And until next time, keep getting back up, 8.